Camera recording.
I don't remember my name.
Camera recording. Camera recording.
And you imagine.
Nice week less. Camera recording. Audio recording.
There you go! Okay, we're all good?
How much I love you!
So never mind. Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of Nights at the Round Table. Today we are discussing the book Bloodhound, book 2 of the Becca Cooper series by Tamora Pierce. And I'm just going to jump into general impressions of the book. Eric?
I think this is my favorite of the three in this series. And this series is my favorite of the Tamora Pierce Tortall worlds. So I'm very biased. I love this book.
Okay.
My opinions of this book. I think overall it was a pretty good book. It kept me fairly interested. But generally, I don't think it pushed the envelope very much.
No, you're right, it didn't. But I was not expecting that either. I really like this book. And I say that on emphasis. I say that with the emphasis on really because it surprises me how much I like this book. I tend not to like young adult. I really generally don't like things written from the first person perspective. But this is done spectacularly well. I think because it was done as a journal entry, and it had a number of things that made me smile, like Pounce's paw prints coming across the page, which anybody owning a cat knows exactly what that's like.
See, Pounce was actually one of my problems with this book.
The constellation?
Yeah.
It's not so much the constellation or the god in cat format or whatever they were calling it at the time. If you had been calling her some sort of hedge mage who happened to have a smart familiar, I would have been much better with it. The moment you give any character a god pet,
the character actually comes from a previous book. So this is a prequel to the first books she wrote in Tortall. And the cat is from the first series that she wrote. So I agree it's my least favorite part of the book. But It's not in it much.
Strangely, I love Pounce in this book.
I like Pounce's sassiness,
Yeah.
but I feel like he doesn't belong. She shines without any of that. There's plenty of awesome characters. He's kind of useless.
I mean, about 2/3 of the way through the book, Pounce was like, you need to do this on your own, and she did perfectly well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Perfectly well.
she did fine.
She did phenomenally, but yeah.
Yeah, but just having Pounce around was kind of an annoyance in the back of my mind. Even though, much like you, I like the actions and the sassiness. I like cats. So.
Yeah, Pounce was very much a cat. Yeah. I really enjoyed, from the first book, the growing up Becca does in this book, where she has to start taking responsibility for herself, and she falls in love more or less. And the way it was done was not sappy or trite or really annoying the way some teenagers can be when they're falling in love. And the way a lot of falling in love in young adult is written, it's really annoying. But it was done really well in this book. I was pleasantly surprised again. The romance didn't bug me, and oftentimes romance really annoys me.
It also wasn't the main focus.
Yeah, it was just on the side.
Yeah, which was nice.
I wasn't sure while I was reading it how much I loved that relationship.
Oh, I didn't love it. I love the way it was written.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean...
It didn't make us cringe. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's my point, is I wasn't going, oh, for God's sake, really? While I was reading that.
The way the relationship ended, I thought was actually very mature. And I'm not going to go into how that happened.
Spoiler territory.
Very mature and very felt realistic, which is kind of weird to say in a fantasy book.
Yeah.
With god cats.
And sneezing dogs.
Yeah, I love that.
I also enjoyed how she didn't fall for the first rogue.
Roscoe?
Yeah, Roscoe.
She did a little bit in the first book.
No, but not in any serious way. I mean, she
Not
was
the way
always,
that she fell for Dale.
Yes, that's true.
She was always like, okay, listen, I'm a cop. He is not. No matter how pretty and flirty he is, I'm not falling for that crap. You know, so I enjoyed that. It gave her character a lot more credibility, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and also with the relationship, what I really, really liked is even though she was flush with the first love, she kept her head. Yes. She suspected Dale right up until he was perfectly cleared.
Because it would have been a huge bummer if she hadn't, right?
Yeah,
because
that would have annoyed me. That would have ticked me off.
It would have blinded. She wouldn't have been the super cop they say at the beginning of the book, or the first one.
And because the whole series basically is about, you know, how good and faithful a cop she is, and if they had gone that route, it would have been really annoying. But
yeah, I would have.
She did okay.
She did good. Well done, Becca. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like the cant of the book too, the language used.
Yeah, the first time I read the first book, it took me a couple of pages to get into it. I usually hate cant. I hate books that are written in novel format. Like, not novel, sorry, letter format or diary. And I hate books that make up their own language, but for some reason it worked.
Well, it
really
works because it felt to me based heavily on Cockney, with the coves and mots and the Dixies and lads.
Sure.
But yes, again, it's been how long since we've read the first book? And it took me
a year about.
It took me a couple of pages to get
5
back
days
in.
for me.
Yeah. Rob had to catch up. He did a lot of homework for us. Thank you, Rob.
I speed read through these books, and right off the bat, these are not fast books to read through.
No.
A lot of, you know, the teen sort of young adult kind of stuff, you know.
You can skim through.
You're like, and it's done.
3 pages of angst. 3 pages of angst.
I don't know why, but it was a long read. And not an uninteresting long read. I mean, just it took time.
It borrowed a lot more from detective novels than it did from traditional young adult love novels.
Yeah. Or even traditional young adult fantasy dystopian novels. Like, as a character, they did a fantastic job with Becca and with Goodwin.
Yes, it's nice to see Goodwin and her other partner in the other book, in the next one, Tunstall. It's good to see their different facets and that they're not just tough cops.
Exactly. I really appreciated that Goodwin was phenomenal at embroidery, for example, and it took Becca by surprise. And the reason for her being good at the embroidery and why she keeps up with the embroidery made her a full character instead of just this one-dimensional tough cop. She was also a loving daughter and a loving wife, and seeing her being all lovey with her husband made Becca a little
blush.
What is this? Like, this is weird. Which would be true to life if you only knew somebody as a tough.
Well, even just knowing someone from work or from one activity, you get to see them in another way, and you're like, whoa.
What? Yeah. So it worked, and I like that these characters are so fully dimensional instead of just cardboard cutouts of tropes and.
What did you think of her uncle?
Her uncle?
Was it uncle? The other cop from the new town. Him and his significant other.
Oh, Nestor.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I liked that, although I'm bouncing between the way that, what was his name? Orthel? Was handled, because he's very clearly a she.
Is he?
Yes, he even said that he was
wrong body.
Wrong body.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he was a she or just both.
Just cross-dressing.
Or both.
Or
like
both.
fluid.
Yeah, no, he definitely said that he was born in the wrong body, that he should have been a woman, and the trickster god got involved when his mother was pregnant.
That was an interesting way of explaining it.
Yeah, and so I really liked that there is a trans woman in this, but she always used masculine pronouns.
Yeah, except for...
Even when he was being
Even when
Amber.
he was an Amber?
Even when he was being Amber.
I didn't pick up on that.
I didn't pick up on that either.
I did. So I love that they included a trans woman, and I loved that the trans woman was a full person with fears and very much in love with Nesta and wanting to protect him. Not sure that they handled the pronouns all that well.
But without... Sorry, this is meta, but without them telling her to use different pronouns, and it's her written book.
Yeah, see, that's
the only thing that's sort of
as
like...
well. It's like her journal.
First person's confusing.
Yeah, so maybe it would have always used he, but even after she found out, like, he said, I'm a woman, the trickster just switched bodies. I would have liked to have seen the proper pronouns used. But even still, her inclusion, beg your pardon, at all, was lovely. And I know, right? And he was actually one of my favourite characters. I like the tension of femininity in this book. I like how Tamora, oh my lord, Tamora's the author. I like how Becca is discovering her femininity in a way that doesn't conflict with her being the toughest first-year dog on the street. And I like that her grandmother is on her case about getting married and having babies, and she's literally like, no, let's not talk about my womb, please. That's nobody's business but my own.
It's nice because a lot of cop shows or detective things, the girl pretends to be basically a guy, while in this, she's a woman and she's a cop. It's not mutually exclusive.
Exactly, like you can be feminine and pretty, even though she fights against it for most of this, and also be a really tough, badass person. And I like that about that, because often you find, even without meaning to, a lot of young adult books reinforce differently. That if you're pretty, then you'll skate by, and if you're plain, that makes you tougher. And it's not necessarily the case. Looking at you, Jeffrey.
Kind of a nice contrast with the villain of the book, Pearl.
Pearl, who is, horrific. She's
terrifyingly,
And
vain.
I like that too, because it shows all the facets of femininity. It's not necessarily all tough cop or pretty flancy flirt, or there are ugly women who do ugly things. Flory was one of my favorites.
Because flower salesman.
The flower sales girl,
I didn't catch that the first time I read it. I was so innocent. Back in when was this published? 2007?
Was it? Oh, I don't know. Because she ends up being the one who confronts Pearl.
The first one who really does.
The first one who really does. In Pearl's own hall, she's brave, and then when she shows up later, she's dressed for battle. So she isn't just like a shapely plaything that people pay for. She's actually quite tough. And
as far as Pearl goes, a lot of the time in these books you really see where the plot's going, but this one, they made a big deal of not, like, the cops really did not understand why the counterfeit was happening.
That's because it's a stupid thing to do.
And once, I mean, there's a no spoiler here, but once, the cops figure it out, they're like, we really didn't see that coming. And to be honest, I didn't really see that coming either.
I like that it was a 2-layer thing.
Yeah.
There were 2 villains responsible for that. One for reasons of revenge and the other for reasons of greed. And that they were working together as partners, but also quite independently with
Revenge doesn't make sense, people.
There's actually a 3rd layer too.
Really?
Which you find out in the 3rd book.
In 3rd book, okay.
There's
Did it have something to do with the provost in that city?
It has to do with the entire country.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The third book's a little bit more of a political.
Oh, okay. Well, I look forward to reading that. I like political stuff sometimes.
Well, when I say political, I mean it has political implications. It's still like
Yes, no, I know what you mean.
her and her partners. I'm not going to say who it is.
And a chew.
And a Chew, yes, a Chew, and there's a new character introduced.
Oh, really? Oh,
New love interest, of course.
oh,
Probably
poor Roscoe.
My favorite in the entire book.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
How did you
Serious.
feel about Achu?
I think he's
loved
adorable.
Achu.
I want to hug him.
Achu,
I actually want a dog just because of a Chew.
Actually, I have friends who have a Basset Hound, and the Basset Hound is every much the sap that a Chew is. So, I thought they nailed it.
And I love the relationship between a Chew and Pounce. The sort of, they like each other, but they don't really, and he translates, which is kind of fun.
My only problem with Achu was that Achu got into the battles an awful lot.
Yeah, he shouldn't have.
And as I understand the way that they wrote the book, Achu is not a very big dog.
No, he's only 30 pounds. He's a little thing.
So when you have a little dog who's specialized in doing something useful, scent tracking, you really don't want this dog, getting in the way of knives and biting 200-pound bad guys in armor. And I was like, ooh, that's a bit...
But that shows his poor training from before.
And also
and how much
his love
his
of
devotion,
Becca.
yeah.
His devotion to Becca.
And it hints at stuff later on.
Yeah.
It's Stuffing the only one who knows what's going on in the book.
Okay, let's flip over to social responsibility.
I have not. What?
I found
What is social responsibility?
this book showed a lot of social responsibility, in that the cops were predominantly, well, the whole series really, dealing with fairly low-income areas, and they grew up in low-income areas.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about, cops taking bribes, and who to let off, and who to give a pardon to, and who to jail. And I found that not just this book, but the whole series so far really painted a fairly realistic view of law and order from the street perspective.
Yes, I agree.
And also the conflict that each of the cops goes through. So for Goodwin, she doesn't take bribes as much as some of the others do, but she has her embroidery to get more money.
Yeah.
And her husband helps.
Yeah,
But,
and also the happy bag.
Yeah.
But it's also important that Becca going into this, she says, I don't remember whether it was in this book or the first one, something along the lines of, I want to work these streets because this is where I grew up and these are my streets.
Yeah, I think that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah. I also like how they understood that with Pearl gone there would be a power vacuum on the wrong side of the law.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed somebody there who understood that there has to be a balance in keeping people under control, who understood that, you're going to look after these rats because if you don't, all hell breaks loose everywhere. And
The equivalent of Roscoe in the first book.
Yeah. So, and also, yes, who to jail and who to not. And also, Becca herself notes that sometimes the law is on the wrong side. Like, I can't remember what the quote was exactly or who it was referring to, but they often torture there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and then
I'm glad
people,
that she didn't go too deep with this.
Yeah. And often good people lose a limb or lose their life because the law is the law, and
also,
sometimes it's not right.
When you enter into the realm of corrupt cops, and this is, an excellent reason why we no longer torture people, unless they really piss me off.
Work most of
No, why we no longer torture people.
This is why we're friends.
Because first of all, they mentioned that torture does not really get out the truth. It just gets out what
they think you want to hear.
They think you want to hear to make it stop.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, if you're a corrupt cop and an innocent subject comes in, you're going to torture him until he's going to tell you what it is, and then he's guilty.
Yeah, because he will eventually tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've noticed some of the more dark young adult tends to be like, yeah, torture works. And I'm like, no. So this was refreshing to see it done the way that actual social studies have shown it to work.
Yeah. I did very much appreciate that.
So, people, torture is revenge, not information gathering. That's your lesson of the day.
It's really sad that I agree with you on that one.
Yeah!
Why is that sad that you agree with him on that one?
Because it's a terrible
torture
position.
shouldn't be
It's
on
a
the
terrible
table at
position.
all.
Yeah.
You should take it and throw it off the table.
Yes.
But you're sad that you agree with him about that?
Yes, because torture shouldn't be an option. The lawful good in me says no torture.
Yes.
For no reason.
No longer lawful good.
Yeah, damn it. Now I can't use my paladin powers.
Neutral good now. Soon to be chaotic good, like the rest of us at this table.
It's the best good to be.
Come back! You know you like it. Oh, bad Rob. Bad.
There's a thread that goes through the entire series. It gets more important in the third one, but it's mentioned in the first, and then it's mentioned in this. The religion. The mother goddess?
Yes,
or...
the cult of the gentle mother goddess.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how it's a complete shift from what it was beforehand, where women, the goddess temple, they were warriors. And they encouraged women to do things like become cops and so on and so forth. And again, this is a prequel. So if you've read the other books, you know that the gentle mother wins out completely.
Oh.
And the mother goddess is eliminated from all of
Really?
Total.
Oh, that makes me angry, because I liked the mother goddess in
The
this.
first first three series are about women. And they're about women who want to do things that aren't normally done. So the first one actually disguises herself as a boy to become a knight.
Okay.
And it isn't until like the third series that they start accepting women back into society the way they were at the beginning of this.
What Eric's telling you here is there's a major storyline screwing about to happen, and you need to read these books so you're up to speed on it. We're going with.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Because you can see hints. That's true. You can see hints of it all throughout this book. Like when the grandmother starts on Becca about why are you a cop? It's rough, and you shouldn't be a cop. Go learn to be a proper woman. And then Sir, what's his name?
Crazy Pants.
Sir Crazy Pants. Yeah, we'll just call him Sir Crazy Pants. Talks to Becca and Goodwin in much the same, sort of dismissing them as being
the deputy
just
provost
women,
or whoever.
Yeah, they're just women, and therefore a little daintier and a little frailer. And Becca's reaction was just shocked silence, like.
And then what he says to her later on.
Yeah.
And they walk out of his office being like, "What the fuck was that?" You know, like.
But it's getting really popular with the upper class, the royals. And the next book has a lot of it.
Goes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That's good to know.
It's interesting because it mirrors some of the backlash that you see after every wave of feminism historically.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously it's done on purpose, but it's nice to see that it happens.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I think I like this book so much, even though there's magic and
Wait,
constellation.
you don't like books with magic?
No, let me finish the story. Even though there's magic and a cat that is in fact a constellation and pigeons that carry the voices of the dead,
cool.
It is really cool, and dust spinners that hold voices in conversations that they've overheard. It still feels incredibly real, and it feels incredibly real because all the characters are really well written. Becca's a complete human being. She's not one-dimensional, and the struggles that she goes through as a young cop are some of the same struggles that a lot of women face when they're young and they're told that no, they can't be scientists, or
they can't be cops.
They can't be cops, or no, you're not allowed in the army, or any of those sort of things. So it feels really, really real, and I very much appreciate that.
Very, very connectable character.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good mirror onto the biases of our own world.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk to pigeons, for example. How did you like that whole pigeon carrying the dead souls thing?
Because
that's
servants of the Black God.
That's traditionally
Would you like a shot?
Traditionally a crow job. And so pigeons?
I've heard ravens, crows, a lot of others, but pigeons makes more sense to me.
Birds specifically.
Birds.
Birds in general, with crows and ravens being specific examples in different cultures.
I like it. I think it's interesting, and I like the Black God in this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few worlds where the God of Death isn't scary. He is.
He's scary.
But he's not evil.
Scary, but he's not evil.
Yeah.
That I like that very much.
A lot of the time, the underworld or the God of Death is like something to be feared, but in this, they sort of kind of accept it.
Yeah.
They walked the line a little bit on the comedy. That, Becca basically had to get shit on in order to get the intelligence from the Dark God.
Oh, yes,
that was a little bit funny, but they didn't outright go and say that, but it was implied a couple times.
Yeah. The pigeons are a lot of comedy relief.
Slapper I was very sad when Slapper got cut in half.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert!
Cleaved, one would say.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, poor Slapper.
Okay, we're running out of time, so if you were to give this a rating out of 5, Rob, what would you give it?
Okay. Little bit hard for me because I read the first book and the second book like back to back. Mm-hmm. So I have to say my rating for the two of them probably has to be a common rating. I'd give it a solid 3.5.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I gave it last time I read it, but 4.5. It's everything I want in a young adult / detective book.
I'm right down the middle. A very solid, very well earned 4.
That's high praise from you.
Yeah, it is. I don't like the genre. I don't like the perspective, but this pulls it off beautifully. And I want to buy the entire series for every child in my family. So that's Christmas sorted for my niece.
and she has 2 other full series with at least 10 books in each.
Yeah. So I'm really impressed with this book and with this series so far, and I can't wait to get my hands on book 3. Highly recommend. Mm-hmm. Okay, Eric, you pick the next one.
Okay.
Because I'm flagrantly irresponsible.
Yeah,
as the whole torture thing. Let us know. Yeah.
Gunslinger by Stephen King.
Oh, good.
The new edition.
Yeah, so
I need to get the new edition.
I have the new edition. When I'm finished reading it, if I finish reading it in time.
I'll get the ebook. So.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So Gunslinger by Stephen King. It's the first book in the Dark Tower series. Nice pick, by the way, since the movie is being set to film.
Also, a palate cleanser from Bloodhound too. It's very
it's very different.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, I haven't read it, so I don't know.
No, it is. It's very different. I think more of a weird western than this kind of thing. Okay, so that's what we'll be reading in a couple of weeks. If you have any comments about Bloodhound or even the Becca Cooper series as a whole, do leave them in the comments. You can also visit our Goodreads book club. I'll leave a description in the description. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter if you like. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.
Don't torture.
Only for revenge. Only torture for revenge.